I do love that song. Gary Lynn Floyd, oh my goodness, my favorite person. Oh, so good morning, everybody. Here we are in our final week of a whole month of Holy Boldness. And as suitable for the last day of Pride Month and everything we've talked about so far, we're talking about colorful today. Colorful to the core. Sidebar, the way my brain goes when I hear something like colorful to the core, I'm reminded of, trying to not make this too long a story, a friend of mine who is one of those guys who really appreciates character actors. Not the great big shiny gorgeous stars, but the little folks that show up in so many movies, the quirky, crazy folks whose faces we recognize but whose names we often don't know. But he made a practice of identifying them and learning about them and cheering them on. And one of his favorite guys in that context was a man named Strother Martin. And shows up in lots of movies, lots of westerns. He's the miner or the camp cook or just the grizzled old funny guy on the street corner. But the role that he really shone in and actually had a bigger part in was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I don't know how many of you remember that movie. It was a classic in its time anyway. A long time ago now. But Strother Martin was the guide that they hired to get them through Mexico to the mining camp that they wanted to rob. And there he was on he's not a big guy, but he was on an even smaller burro with all of his gear and talking all the time about himself. And his favorite phrase that he repeated through quite a bit of the movie was, "I'm colorful." Well, by God, he was. Okay? So that stuck. That became a phrase in my family, courtesy of my friend who loves Strother Martin. I'm colorful. And I think we all know folks who stand up in that and shout it. I think we also all know folks that are just as centered in who they really are, but do it much more quietly. Okay. And then maybe we also know folks who haven't really stepped into the power of knowing who they are, accepting that they're colorful. And it's like, oh, no, don't look at me. Not me, not ready to go there yet. And some of what I want to talk today about is the power of stepping into the truth that, yeah, you are colorful. And you not only deserve to show up in the world as yourself, but the world deserves that of you. The world craves that. That Spirit has created you to fully be yourself, be present, be your own unique, different, beautiful, colorful self in the world. And if you don't show up like that, something is lacking. The world isn't fulfilled by what could be present and active in this symphony of life that we are part of. Being our part, showing up, shining. That's what I want to talk about today. Reverend Sunshine Michelle Coleman, who wrote the material for this month, says it very clearly when she says, every aspect of life is welcome at God's party. Okay. what if we knew that? What if we lived from that? And of course, this is another opportunity to look at that paradox that you hear me talk about all the time, because I love it. Showed up in a whole lot of what Mary Lee shared with us from Ernest Holmes. And that is that paradox of the one, great big capital O one, that wholeness, that allness, that one name we give it is God, but it really doesn't care what name we call it, but the one, living itself as the many, all these many different, individuated, distinct, and differentiated expressions of itself. It's who we are. And what's beautiful about that paradox is those two are both, well, this is the way paradox works. Both of those are true. The one, the wholeness, the allness, and the explosion of the many that we are. And the fact that they're both true means we get to honor both of them. To be whole ourselves, to be full in the knowing of how this world works. And if we're all over in the one, it's beautiful, but it's not the whole picture. And if we're all concerned with the many, well, that has its uses, but it's not the whole picture. The one and the many are the truth. And we are enmeshed in both aspects of that truth. And just noticing that is one step into stepping into the way to fully be present in this world as who we are. Roger Teal in This Life is Joy puts it this way. He says, our greatest relationship lesson is to proclaim our shared essence and to become masterful at both celebrating uniqueness and honoring oneness. When we realize that we are so much more than separate organisms, that we are actually beings of light, each of us radiating a unique expression of universal light, we gain access again to our source of true power. That's what we're after here, is finding that truth at our core and letting it shine out, the one and the many. And of course, celebrating it for ourselves, knowing it as who we are as individuals, but also recognizing it in everyone else, as Mary Lee was telling us. We've got to see it everywhere, because it's true everywhere. Any less than that, and we've sidestepped that truth. God is one, except for that guy I don't like very much over there. That doesn't work. We gotta love it all. Doesn't mean we have to roll down and say, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, I love you. Maybe not. But we have to acknowledge the divinity inside every being. No matter how much they might be out of touch with it and expressing something that sure doesn't look like it. It's there, and we get to love it. And that love is what might just awaken it in them so that they discover themselves. When we talk about the spiritual magnificence of every person, how they deserve to discover that. That's what we're about. That's what we're after. So for starters, for taking it personally, I would invite you to spend some time this week just assessing how much you actually stand out being yourself. and how much you reel that back in. How much you show your true, colorful core. And yes, if you're not fully embracing that and expressing it, sometimes there are reasons and situations where it's a fact that we can't. I mean, maybe you work somewhere that has a dress code, so you can't show up wild every day. Okay. But sometimes, just notice whether there's that kind of factual reason, or if it's some story you're telling yourself on the inside about, oh, I don't dare be that. I don't dare be my full self. And then just be gentle with that. And again, love yourself into noticing the truth of who you are on the inside. And allow that to empower you into a bigger expression of yourself. Letting go of what doesn't serve you. Embracing the larger truth of who you are. Vivian Lobanzant in One Day My Soul Just Opened Up says, God is within you and every living thing. Translated, this means that everything living is a unique representation of God's identity, mind, spirit, and life. Every living thing. Let's celebrate that in a way that lets it get felt in a larger and larger ripple effect out into the world. Mary Lee shared a bunch of really good Ernest Holmes quotes. Ernest being the founder of this teaching, the author of The Science of Mind. I've got a couple more for you that echo everything that's already been said. He says, we are all just a little unique, for each wears a different face, but behind each is the one presence, God. Unity does not mean uniformity. Unity means that everything draws its strength and its power and its ability to live from one source. And another from Ernest. Incarnated within each one of us is not only a divine spark, not only an incarnation of the living spirit of the cosmos, but a unique presentation of the cosmic whole. So what makes us special and different and quirky and ourselves is our unique representation and presentation of the wholeness, uniquely, divinely expressed by us being ourselves. So notice that there's two things being asked of us here. One is to do the personal work, to be true to yourself, to uncover and love what makes you who you are. And the other is to be willing to do that to everybody you meet, just like the song said a minute ago. Everybody you meet. Every other individual is that same God presence expressed in a different way. Quote from Richard Rohr. Each and every creature is a unique word of God with its own message, its own metaphor, its own energetic style, its own way of showing forth goodness, beauty, and participation in the great mystery. That's what we're celebrating, is that blessing that every individual brings to the planet, to life with a capital L, by being themselves. And this is what I love so much about Centers for Spiritual Living and United Life Center for Spiritual Living, because this is what we do. It's the basis that we're grounded in. It's what we teach, it's what we're learning how to live. We recognize and celebrate and empower love. We recognize and celebrate and empower each other to be our fullest expression of that. You are colorful to the core. You are spiritually magnificent. And we love you for the unique expression of divinity that you are. I'm part of a minister's prayer circle. We call it the Power of Eight, or the Power 8 prayer circle. It's mostly folks that are farther west than I am, but we meet via Zoom every Monday at noon my time. And what we're about is prayer work for the highest and best for Centers for Spiritual Living. We are supporting this organization, this entity, this sacred service that we're all part of as Centers for Spiritual Living. And what I've particularly noticed as those prayers unfold, yes, we do a lot of specific treatment for the success of different programs and ministries, and the easy working of the offices and how they're handling their jobs, the sale of their building in Golden, Colorado, the moving of their archives, an immense amount of material, to its new location in Unity Village. All those specifics get handled. But over that, and one that I tend to spend a whole lot of time on in my words within the prayer, are the gift that CSL is being to the planet just by knowing the truth of how life is, how it works, what the divine is doing and loving by being itself in and through and as all these expressions of itself. And I get to know that in grounding in that, in living that, folks that have never even heard of us are feeling it. That if there's something inside of them that is yearning to find that space, that spark, the work we do resonates with that. They get to wake up to their spiritual magnificence. Every positive thought we think that's grounded in that kind of truth resonates outward to folks that didn't know they even needed that in their lives. And of course it helps if they do hear about us and find us and show up on a Sunday. Great, please do. And the work goes on all the time as that's happening or not. And then the other side of that coin, underlying that, is if we are living that, if we are that gift to the world, if we are that blessing, Spirit supports it. Because that's what Spirit does. It supports its projects. So if we're on board with being in the world the way we need to be, then what we need to be that best expression shows up for us, whether it's space or finances or people or projects. It will show up. We can trust that because that's what Spirit does. So that's the work that I'm doing in prayer on Mondays with our Power 8 circle. And that's the work I'm doing for United Life. And I'm noticing that that's how I want to take myself into the visioning work that we're doing, the visioning that we did first Sunday in June, and we'll be doing again this coming Sunday, first Sunday in July, is, yes, imagining the next space we'll be in, and we're getting closer to actually letting go of this building. And the release of this building is going to release a whole lot of other things perhaps we've been attached to. So yeah, we can vision for what our next space will look like, and what our finances will look like, and all that good, of course. And I really want to take myself to the vision of, who do I need to be? How do I need to show up for all those other things to fall into place? Because I am living the way Spirit wants me to be in the world. And I'm knowing that for all of us, as United Life shows up the way Spirit intends for us to show up in the world, everything necessary will fall into place. I trust that. I lean into that. I let it empower me. I let it empower us. And boy, does it feel good. Oh boy, does it feel good. So yes, in next week's visioning, I invite you to look deep into your own colorful core, what makes you unique, what gifts you bring to the table, and how you want to live from there. Because it's living your colorful core that makes us who we are. We're already doing it with our new spiritual AF circle. We're creating a space for people to just really be themselves. And that's an energy shift. Yes, so grateful. More of that, please. What else? What else needs to unfold from here as we step forward into a bigger idea of who we are? So, I want to wrap us up with a quote from Eric Butterworth, The Creative Life, and then I'll move us into prayer. He says, yes, you are the divine original. And the divine intent, active as you, has one desire: to express expansively and creatively its uniqueness as the perfect idea it is in infinite mind. This is your spiritual destiny. I'm going to repeat that because this is important, folks. Know this for yourselves. The divine intent, active as you, has one desire: to express expansively and creatively its uniqueness as the perfect idea it is in infinite mind. That's who you are. That's Spirit's one desire in you and through you and as you. This is your spiritual destiny. And let's take that into prayer. Breathing into that space again that absolutely knows the truth. The truth of one life, one power, one presence, one infinite good, one love. Knowing that if one is one, then everything about our planet, everything about us as individuals, everything about every creature, an event, an exchange of energy, lives itself in that one being itself truth, trusting that truth. It's in that centered space that I speak my word. And if these words sound good to you, take them as your own. I know and claim right now that I live from my own colorful core. That I trust Spirit's idea of me as me to show up in the world when I give it the space to do so. When I allow that bigness, so much bigger than my little ideas about who I might be, so much bigger than my ego, when I let that bigness shine. And I know from that space, from that gift to the planet that I am, shift is happening all over the place. Some that I can see and celebrate, some that I know nothing about, but I can trust because I know Spirit is at work being itself in the world. I'm so grateful for how good it feels to know this. I'm so grateful for those shifts in consciousness, seen and unseen, expected and unexpected, that are happening all around me now. And in that gratitude, I just release this word, I let it go, and I let it be. And together we say, and so it is.